Stephen Page, hi.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm not too bad, man. How's it going?
I'm hanging in. It's just not how I imagined my spring, but I don't think it's how anybody imagined their spring, except for maybe people in the public health community.
Are you able to stay creative? Are you able to write music?
It's been a weird uh, series of emotional waves for me. When this first happened, like when things started to shut down, I was in Stratford. We were rehearsing for the opening of Here's What It Takes, and they sent us home. And the first thing I did when I was waiting up there in Stratford was, spend a lot of time on social media and news apps and whatever else and panic. And I very quickly wrote a song. I wrote this song, Isolation, that I put up on YouTube and then did a studio version by myself at home and put that up on all the services. And I kind of was hawking that for a while because I thought, hey, I'm being productive. I have to be productive. I have to do stuff. And then I got home from Stratford and I just kind of collapsed for a couple weeks. Like I emptied Netflix. There's nothing left. Like shake Netflix and nothing comes out.
Yeah, you reached the final boss of Netflix. It's done now.
And it was a total disappointment. It was like, I knew I'd played this before. But you get to the very end when you realize that. And then, and I started seeing people doing online streaming shows, which at first I thought was like exciting. And then I thought the more I see other people doing this, it's almost like the less I want to do it. Like I kind of just got super low energy, but I still was waking up at like 4:30 in the morning. Like this mix of anxiety and depression meeting in the worst way. And then I started doing these live from home concerts. I've been using the Side Door with Dan Mangan's company to do these live concerts every Saturday. And it's been awesome. All of a sudden I have all this energy. I'm getting all this stuff done and I'm rehearsing, like playing old songs I haven't played maybe ever. And 1,000 people come into this room where I'm standing now every Saturday and I can see them on my computer screen. And it's like we have a little community. So it's right now I'm getting stuff done. Writing, not so much, because now I'm preparing for concerts every week.
Right. What I find interesting about that is a couple of things. One is that you felt the pressure to have to be artistic. And I think that's something that we haven't talked about enough, is when we saw all these live streams happen. And I think Daniel Romano, like the great songwriter from Welland, put out 2 records since COVID-19 started. Like there's a lot of pressure on people to make art right now at a time where you might just be scared to death.
Well, you have to take care of a lot of things, including your mental health. And, we've all seen the meme about, finishing our great novel during COVID-19, or that Shakespeare wrote King Lear in quarantine. But the most important thing we got to do is like stay okay and give yourself some time. And, at first when I got home, it felt like, because the way my life works is I go on the road and I go on the road for a couple of months and then I come home and I kind of crash and I kind of just hang out with my wife and my dogs and my kids when they're around and that kind of thing. And I don't do a heck of a lot. So the first couple of weeks of being home just felt like coming home from a tour, except with nothing really to look forward to next. And then getting into it, I started to put a lot of pressure on myself to write or to have something to show for this when this is all over. And I realized that was not fair to me. And it's not the way I always write. I'm more disciplined as a writer than I used to be, so I can get some stuff done. But having the goal of like finishing an album while this is happening is not as helpful to me as like getting ready to entertain a bunch of people on a Zoom concert every week.
So tell me, you say when you do these Zoom concerts for people, like, 1,000 and change people tuning in on these platforms to watch you perform, did you say that it gives you energy for the rest of the day? Like it helps you out with the other stuff you had to do all day, just living?
Oh, not the day. I'm done after I do that. Like I finish these shows because I do like an hour and a half concert. And the cool thing about doing them on Zoom through Side Door is like you have literally 1,000 different computer screens around the world watching. And they've paid to be there. It's not an expensive ticket, but it's something. So they kind of like, it's an event for them as opposed to background. It can be background, but that's not, most people are really invested in it and people have been making requests all week. So I spend all week learning these requests. And then I do like an hour and a half, 2-hour show. So I'm like soaking wet with sweat by the end of it. And that was the weirdest thing after the first one, was coming upstairs and thinking like, this is just like coming off stage from a live gig in a theater, which is, that's exhilarating, but also exhausting. But the rest of the week, because I have that to look forward to, I'm planning and I'm working, and I'm way more engaged with fans on social media too, because I got really cynical about that, I think, over the last bunch of years. You get a lot of trolls and a lot of negative energy, but right now I feel a lot of positivity from people when it comes to talking about things like music and stuff. I think there's a lot of negativity out there, and music seems like a safe place, and that I'm really honored to be a part of that.
I've enjoyed talking to you online about how good the odds are.
my favorite Canadian band, my favorite rock band. The odds are my dream rock and roll band, and now I get to play with them all the time. I get to actually play in their sets, or they play as my backing band. They play on my records, and we've been great friends for almost 30 years now. And to be a bunch of old guys rocking together and laughing and loving each other's songs is a pretty great place to be when you're here.
And I know, like, we've hung out and, we're kind of buds, but, like, I will say I still had, like, a moment of, like, am I DMing Stephen Page about how much I love the odds right now? Like, what is my life right now?
Yeah, but see, I send you a little comment. I think, oh, I wonder if Tom Power's going to see this. I wonder if he'll like my comment. I think we all did the same thing. If we don't, then we're sociopaths.
Yeah, right. You were in the middle of Stratford, as you said, getting ready for your new show when COVID-19 kind of hit, when word came out that things would have to be postponed. Where were you in the process when you got the word?
Well, we were a few weeks into rehearsal, and that meant that the cast knew all the songs. We started with music first, so that they knew all the songs. Many of the cast had been in earlier workshop iterations of the musical, but this was the first time that we'd all been together. It's about 30 people in the cast, and then you've got all the creative team. So myself, Daniel McIver, who wrote the book for the show, Donna Fior, the director. Then you've got the musical directors and the band. We were getting ready for band rehearsals, choreographers, designers, all that kind of stuff was starting to come in. Choreography was starting to happen. And this show was supposed to be one of the first shows in the brand new Tom Patterson Theater, which was set to open this season. Gorgeous brand new theater. And, we were looking forward to getting up on that stage, which would have happened, by the end of March. And now I'm fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens next year.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Is there any word on whether you're going to get into the next Stratford season or whether it's going to be part of that?
Well, first of all, they don't even know what's going to happen next year. We don't know if there's going to be a second wave that's going to stop people. We don't know if people are going to want to go to see theater, if it's going to be financially feasible for them. One thing I didn't know about Stratford is, they have single-digit percentage of government funding, which I had no idea. I assumed that they were government funded to the teeth, but apparently it's 8% of their budget comes from government funding, and the rest is from ticket sales and personal donations and that kind of thing. So they have no idea. If people don't come, they could be cutting their season back or having less shows. I'm just hoping that it goes forward, because it's super exciting for me. But the other thing about a thing like Stratford, a festival like that, where the whole city benefits so much from that festival, whether it's accommodations or restaurants or services or whatever else. So they're all hurting when the festival's not up and running.
I think it goes to say that we all think, maybe in the public, that some of these, artistic institutions, be they Stratford or be it a band that tours and does theaters and does arenas and stuff like that, we think that everything's going to be fine no matter what. I mean, we're learning about how razor thin the margins are of art in this country right now.
Well, and one thing I'm kind of realizing too is that when touring and concerts and stuff start up again, and who knows, that could be in the fall, it could be next year, there's going to be such a log jam of artists trying to get into venues. The way they book clubs and theaters now is often you put a hold on it, and they're 15, 16, 18 bands deep trying to get into, on the priority on a certain date in a club. So all the bands who had, or artists who had, shows canceled or postponed will be rescheduling. Anybody who's got a new record out, anybody else who's struggled through the crisis and needs to get out there to earn a living may have difficulty even getting into places. So,
Stephen,
things like house concerts and online stuff is a good way to kind of, get things going again too.
Stephen, if it's not too painful, what is your show about?
The show is about a band. It's about two guys who start a band, but it's not the two guys you're thinking of. Obviously, it's informed by my own experience, but it's also it's written by Daniel McIver, based on both of our experiences about collaboration, about partnership, about friendship, and about love. It's really about what is enough. What is enough admiration from outside? What is enough of a connection between you and somebody else? When we call the show "Here's What It Takes," which I like because on its surface it kind of sounds like "Here's what it takes, kid, to make it," but it's really more about here's what it takes from you. When you choose this kind of life, here's what it takes from your life sometimes, and about the joy that it can bring and the magic that happens in collaboration. But it's also about the destruction you can leave behind you too.
You're right. When I heard it was the story of two guys starting a band, starting a creative project together, the first thing I went to was you and Ed starting Bare Naked Ladies. I know, I mean, that's sort of what everyone's mind is going to go to. But you said your personal experience did inform this in some way.
Oh, sure. I mean, this band started they're about 10 years older than us. And so a lot of it takes place in the 80s, which was fun for me to be able to do music that was of that time. But it starts in about 1982 and goes to the present. There are certain things like going to awards shows or, doing TV shoots or what it's like to collaborate with somebody on a song, or about the magic of what, one partner brings that another partner can't bring. But the kind of the general personal story between the characters is not me and Ed. It's not Ernie and Bert. It's not Simon and Garfunkel,
Right.
but it's influenced by all of them.
There's no songs called like Mike Love and The New Apartment.
Yeah, if I had $10,000, 2 weeks.
What a bad boy.
Yeah.
I am excited for you're going to do a song from the show, right?
Indeed. I've gathered several of the cast members from Here's What It Takes. So we've got Robert Marcus, Scott Bowden, Vanessa Sears, Dan Shamroy, and Sean Arbuckle, along with me singing No Song Left to Save Me. Actually, No Song Left to Save Me, the song we're singing, co-written by me and Craig Northey of The Odds.
What can you tell me about the song for people who don't know the show? They're about to hear it for the first time. What would you like them to know? Well,
this is a song that's pretty important in the show. It's actually the finale of the show and makes appearances earlier as well. And I think in a way it's kind of like what I like about my own songs, in the sense that it's uplifting and catchy and danceable, but there's levels of darkness to it as well. It's a song specifically about writing songs as it happens inside the musical. But it's about not giving up. I know myself, there's lots of times when I think, what does it matter if I write anything else? Like, am I just doing this for myself now? And what is good about that? Is that selfish of me to just continue to write songs? Especially if I feel like maybe nobody's ever going to hear it. You don't have the same kind of, as you get to my stage and my age, you don't necessarily have the same kind of audience you once had who are as hungry for new music, and you trying to cope with that. And the song has other people saying to the songwriter, keep going, because who are you to say that next song you write isn't going to save somebody's life? I mean, songs have saved my life multiple times. And it's not arrogant to believe that you can do it. It's allowing the chance to happen, and that putting that positivity out there is worth it. And it's worth sticking around for.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. Stephen, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom. Great to see you.